Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen.
But Kathy asked, does anyone have a go-to book for parents of newly diagnosed kiddos? I have a friend whose child was just diagnosed. I'm not sure where to point them. I am going to toot my own horn here for just a second and tell you that, Kathy, I have a book. Unfortunately, it's not out until July 6th, but you can pre-order it now. It's available on Amazon, and it's called Autism Parent to Parent. And I think the subtitle of it, I should learn it, but it's something like Sanity Saving Tricks Every Parent of an Individual on the Autism Spectrum Should Know. And it has a foreword by Dr. Grand-Pichet. And hopefully Traven will find the link and put it up there for you. You can pre-order it. It has everything that we've talked about from a parent point of view. And of course, then to get the clinical side of it, Dr. Grand-Pichet, tell them about your book.
Which I'm still on chapter 3 of it. I'm trying to write a book, guys, which is focused on just the early experience of getting the diagnosis and kind of what I want to say, like the 10 steps or the things you must do early on. And these are, I'll just go through it in my head right now. The first thing I suggest to parents is to take time to feel your own emotions. A lot of times when our child is diagnosed, there's such an overwhelming period of fear that we just start running in whatever direction is in front of us just to try to come out of this fear. And what I really suggest is to sit with the emotion for a little bit and to really allow yourself to kind of like, if you're going through grief, which a lot of parents do go through initially, allow that cycle of grief to be finished, and that's kind of like fear, depression. And then a lot of parents will just go into like denial phase, and that could go on for a long time. But recognize your own emotions as you're experiencing this, because they will influence kind of how you move forward. And then the second step, I feel like, is the phase of getting your tools together, getting your, it takes a village, gathering your friends, your resource gathering, I guess. And it's more,
I call it circling the wagons.
Circling the wagons, doing your research and gathering your resources. I can't emphasize that enough, because this is not something you're going to want to do alone. You're going to want either a very, very supportive spouse or a friend. Or a therapist or someone who is going to support you and help you. Or, you can get a psychologist that you see when you were trying to deal with your own emotions, and they can help you do the things that are necessary, which means, now going on to the chapters, getting funding in place. Like all these questions that you guys are asking, figure out your funding options, because this is not something that's going to just be 1 year or 6 months. It's going to be 3 to 5 years at least. So figure out your insurance. There are questions here about regional centers in California. Every state, people have written books about resources, but the thing is that they change, right? They're constantly changing. So look up all the resources in your state. Call the parent associations, call the ASA, call the Autism Speak. Start asking questions and figure out where you can get funding, what resources are available for your child. Unfortunately, nobody tells you that. It's like autism is such an interesting disability that you kind of have to research it all yourself, And then as you gather your resources and you feel like, okay, I have funding, I have people who are going to help me, that's when you start looking at the therapies, right? And this is where, for me, I feel like the most important thing, if I was going through this with my child, these are the steps I would take. The first thing is I would want to make sure he has physical health. And his physical health means he is, I want to get his gastrointestinal system checked out. I'd want to make sure he doesn't have a lot of inflammation there, because a lot of our kids do, right? And they have diarrhea or constipation, and they suffer from that. I'd want to make sure that he doesn't have allergies. And if he does, I want to get him on the right diet. I want to make sure that he is sleeping well. These are extremely important things that will then just kind of stabilize and make the child feel well enough to receive the therapies that you're now going to give them, right? Sometimes I'm like, how are we supposed to do 25, 30 hours of ABA with a child who doesn't sleep? I wouldn't want to do that much tutoring if I'm not sleeping, all these. So make sure the child is healthy physically. And then we go to the mental health stuff, which is if your child is anxious, depressed, somebody else wrote in, just has like a lot of different issues with anger, and these things are not able to be dealt with behaviorally, then you want to look at medications for that. Like some of the parents here who are taking, or whose children are on SSRIs or, antipsychotic meds. All of those things are kind of preparing your child to receive learning. And that's really important. And sometimes part of that is also taking care of your child's sensory issues, right? So like if the child can't, some of our kids are brilliant kids, but they cannot learn unless there's a visual stimulus, or they're completely distracted in noisy environments. Those types of things you can also modify for the child. You want to make it an ideal learning situation so that when you do ABA, which is the primary thing that you should be spending most of your time, the child's learning rapidly, right? And they're not feeling sick, they're sleeping, they're not on a food that's making them hyper or allergic or distracted. They don't have gut pain or inflammation, they don't have constipation or diarrhea. They're good, they're healthy, they're mentally all there, and they can focus and learn. And then, of course, some of our kids need additional support services, things like speech therapy to get their speech going, or occupational therapy to kind of help them regulate their body. So it's kind of all of those types of things. And that's what I'm trying to put all of those steps together. And then, of course, as soon as you can take a breath and say, okay, I have all of my program going, you start thinking about school, right? Because most of our kids, obviously, you then have to find the least restrictive environment for the child and make sure they have support and are successful. Then, not to mention, I'm a big, big fan of finding your child's genius, because I think every child has some genius. And if you can find that, honest to God, everything else falls in place. Like drawings, art, music, sport. I mean, our kids are just mind-blowing when you see the stuff they can do, and it's the way they express themselves. So then, all of those things are important. There's a lot.
If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.
To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.
Don't forget, you can watch Ask Dr. Doreen live every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time on autismnetwork.com. We hope to see you there.